You're about to make a decision that will cost you approximately $1 million over your lifetime. You don't realize you're making it. It won't feel like a financial decision at all. It will feel like a life decision, a moment of legitimate achievement that you've earned after years of hard work. But the mathematics of that decision will ripple through every decade that follows, determining whether you retire at 60 or work until 75, whether you have financial freedom or financial anxiety, whether you pass wealth to your children or pass debt. Most people make this decision in their 30 seconds or 40 seconds. Nearly everyone makes it at some point, and almost nobody calculates the true cost before deciding. Today, I'm going to expose the exact decision that costs most people approximately $1 million in lifetime wealth, show you the specific moment when you make it, and explain how to choose differently. Let me start with the decision itself, because understanding what you're deciding is the first step to changing it. The decision is this: what house do you buy? Specifically, do you buy the maximum house your income qualifies you to purchase, or do you buy a modest house and invest the difference? This seems like a straightforward real estate question. It's not. It's the single most consequential financial decision most people make, and they make it based on how much a lender will approve them for, rather than what actually makes financial sense. Here's how the decision typically unfolds. You're earning solid income. Your career is established. You qualify for a mortgage. A lender tells you that you can afford approximately $600,000 in home value. That's the maximum. That's what your income supports. You look at houses in that price range. They're beautiful. They're impressive. They represent success. They have space, upgrades, locations you've always wanted. After years of smaller houses or apartments, this feels like finally arriving. You make an offer. You buy the maximum house your income qualifies you for. Here's what you didn't calculate: the true cost of that decision. Let's use actual numbers to show what's really happening. You earn $180,000 annually. A lender qualifies you for a $600,000 house. The monthly payment is approximately $3,600, including taxes, insurance, HOA, etc. That's 24% of your gross income. The math works. Now consider the alternative. You buy a $350,000 house instead. The monthly payment is approximately $2,100. That's 14% of your gross income. The difference is $1,500 monthly or $18,000 annually. That $18,000 annually doesn't disappear. It either gets spent on other lifestyle upgrades or it gets invested. Let's say you invest that $18,000 annually for 30 years until retirement at 8% average returns. $18,000 per year invested for 30 years becomes approximately $1.95 million in retirement wealth. By buying the maximum house your income qualifies you for, instead of a modest house, you've made a decision that costs you approximately $2 million in lifetime wealth. This is the $1 million decision. It's actually worse than $1 million. It's closer to $2 million. But the principle is the same. Most people make this decision without understanding the cost. They think they're deciding, what house should I buy? In reality, they're deciding, $2 million decision. Should I keep this money or give it away to lifestyle? Now let me complicate this by introducing what actually happens in real life, because the story gets worse. In real life, the person who buys the maximum house doesn't just lose the $1,500 monthly difference. They typically spend even more than that on other upgrades that correlate with bigger houses. A bigger house requires more utilities, higher heating, cooling, electric bills. Another $200 to $300 monthly. A bigger house in a better neighborhood has higher property taxes. Another $200 to $400 monthly. A bigger house requires more maintenance, lawn care, landscaping. Another $300 to $500 monthly. A bigger house often comes with the assumption of proportionally sized cars, dining out more frequently, entertaining more often, taking more expensive vacations to justify the space. These lifestyle upgrades add another $500 to $1,000 monthly. So the person who stretches for the maximum house doesn't just lose $1,500 monthly difference in housing costs. They lose approximately $2,500 to $2,800 monthly in total lifestyle expansion that correlates with the bigger house. That's $30,000 to $33,600 annually. Over 30 years, invested at 8% returns, that's approximately $3.5 million in retirement wealth. The maximum house decision costs approximately $3.5 million. But here's what makes this even more remarkable. The person who buys the maximum house experiences almost no lifestyle improvement. Within 18 months, the bigger house feels normal. The impressive features become baseline. The extra space becomes taken for granted. The psychological satisfaction of the upgrade completely disappears. Meanwhile, the person who bought modestly never experienced that pleasure fade because they never expected the upgrade. Their modest house still feels like a home. They experience no deprivation by not having a larger house. Yet the financial cost difference is $3.5 million. This creates an astonishing reality. Someone can spend an extra $3.5 million in lifetime wealth to achieve a house that feels normal instead of impressive after 18 months. Let me show you exactly how this decision unfolds through real examples. Meet James and Sarah. They both earn $200,000 annually. They're similar ages, similar careers, similar life stages. They both need to buy houses around the same time. James walks into the mortgage process and asks, "What's the maximum house I can afford?" The lender tells him, "You can qualify for approximately $700,000. James buys a $680,000 house. The monthly payment is $4,100. Combined with property taxes, insurance, and HOA, the total housing cost is approximately $5,200 monthly, or $62,400 annually. That's 31% of his gross income. The house is beautiful. It's in a great neighborhood. It has 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, a finished basement, a spacious kitchen. It's impressive. Friends are impressed. Family is impressed. James feels like he's arrived. But that housing cost leaves limited room in his budget. After taxes, housing, insurance, utilities, food, and other basics, his monthly discretionary income is approximately $1,500. He's not broke, but he's not rich. He can't save aggressively. Now meet Sarah. She asks a different question. What house do I actually need? She determines that a $400,000 house meets her needs. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, good neighborhood, reasonable condition. Not the fanciest on the block, but comfortable. Her monthly payment is approximately $2,400. With taxes, insurance, and other costs, her total housing cost is $3,100 monthly, or $37,200 annually. That's 18.6% of her gross income. Her house is modest compared to James's. It's not impressive. When people visit, they notice it's smaller and less updated. By conventional standards, Sarah is house poor relative to her income. She could afford more but chose not to. But here's what happens. Sarah's monthly discretionary income is approximately $4,000 instead of James's $1,500. She can invest aggressively. She directs $3,000 monthly to investments, $36,000 annually. Over 30 years, that becomes approximately $3.8 million in retirement wealth. James, with his limited discretionary income, can invest approximately $500 monthly when he manages to save at all. His inconsistent contributions of roughly $6,000 annually over 30 years become approximately $600,000 in retirement wealth. At 65, James has the impressive house, now paid off, worth perhaps $1.2 million. Combined with his retirement savings of $600,000, His net worth is approximately $1.8 million. Sarah has the modest house, now paid off, worth perhaps $700,000. Combined with her retirement savings of $3.8 million, her net worth is approximately $4.5 million. Same income, same time period, same investment returns, different house decisions. Sarah is more than twice as wealthy as James. Her modest house decision, the decision that seemed like she was settling, created a $2.7 million wealth advantage. And here's the psychological kicker. Neither of them experienced deprivation. James enjoyed his impressive house for about 18 months before it became normal and baseline. After that, he spent 28 plus years making payments on a house that no longer impressed him or anyone else. Sarah, who never expected a larger house, never experienced the pleasure of the upgrade, and never experienced the disappointment when it became normal. Her modest house always felt sufficient. She never felt deprived. Yet she'll retire $2.7 million wealthier. This is the profound cost of the maximum house decision. It costs $2 to $3 million in lifetime wealth to own a house that feels impressive for 18 months, then normal forever. Now let me explain why this decision is so universal and why people make it without realizing the cost. The reason is simple. The maximum house decision is driven by the wrong question. The person asks, "What's the maximum house I can afford?" This is an approval-based question. It's delegating the decision to a lender. "How much will you approve me for? I'll buy that." It's a question that converts income into consumption automatically. Whatever you earn, you spend. The lender just tells you the cap. The person who makes a different decision asks a different question. What house do I actually need? This is a sufficiency-based question. It requires defining what's actually necessary versus what's impressive. It requires saying no to upgrades even though you could afford them. Most people never ask this question. They ask the lender's question instead. The second reason people make this decision unconsciously is that it feels justified at the time. You've earned success. Your income supports it. You deserve it. Everyone at your income level buys houses at this price point. It's normal for your peer group. You're not being irresponsible. You're being successful. All of these feelings are valid and true. You do deserve it. Your income does support it. It is normal for your peer group. What's not obvious is that normal doesn't mean wise. Normal means what most people do. Most people make decisions that destroy wealth. Just because most people do it doesn't make it financially sound. The third reason people make this decision unconsciously is that the cost is invisible. You see the house. You see the monthly payment. You understand the immediate financial impact of that payment. What you don't see is the $18,000 to $30,000 annually that could have been invested instead. What you don't see is 30 years of compounding at 8%. What you don't see is the retirement that was foregone. The cost is abstract. The house is concrete. Psychologically, the concrete always wins. Let me give you a framework for making a different decision. When you're ready to buy a house, follow these steps. Step 1. Determine what you actually need, not what you can afford. How many bedrooms do you genuinely need? How many bathrooms? What location matters? What condition is acceptable? Answer these questions based on need, not based on what's available. Step 2. Research houses that meet your needs in your area. Don't start with, "What's the maximum I can afford?" Start with, "What houses meet my needs?" Find the price range for adequate housing. Step 3. Calculate the total housing cost. Mortgage payment, property taxes, insurance, maintenance, utilities. What's the actual annual cost? Step 4. Calculate the difference between adequate housing and maximum housing. What would you pay annually for the maximum house versus the adequate house? Step 5. Multiply that annual difference by 30 years, then by 8% returns. That number represents the cost of the maximum house decision. Step 6. Ask yourself honestly, is the maximum house worth that much in retirement wealth? If the maximum house costs you $2.5 million in retirement wealth, do you want to pay that price? Most people, when they see the real number, change their decision. Step 7. Choose based on sufficiency, not approval. Buy the house that meets your needs, not the house the lender approves you for. Let me give you specific guidance based on your current situation. If you haven't bought a house yet and are preparing to, apply this framework before you start looking. Define adequate housing first. Then don't look at anything larger. You can't be tempted by what you don't see. If you already own a maximum house and feel locked in, you have options. Downsizing later in life, moving from a $600,000 house to a $400,000 house once kids are independent, releases approximately $200,000 plus in equity. That's not $2.5 million, but it still creates options. If you're early in a mortgage and having regrets about stretching too far, refinancing, or even selling and buying more modestly can still change your trajectory. It's uncomfortable, but less uncomfortable than working 10 extra years. If you've already made the maximum house decision and can't change it, focus on what you can control. Increase your income, reduce other lifestyle costs, invest whatever you can. You're at a disadvantage financially, but you're not doomed. Now let me address the objection I know you're thinking. But real estate appreciates. My house will be worth more in 30 years. Isn't that wealth building? Real estate does appreciate on average at roughly 3% annually. A $700,000 house becomes approximately $1.8 million in 30 years. But wait, compare this to what you could have done. A $400,000 house becomes approximately $1 million in 30 years. The $300,000 difference in purchase price plus $2.5 million in invested savings equals approximately $2.8 million in wealth. Even accounting for real estate appreciation, the modest house plus invested difference creates more wealth than the maximum house. This is because real estate appreciation is only 3% annually. Stock market returns are approximately 8% annually. You're better off owning modest real estate and investing the difference than owning maximum real estate and investing nothing. Here's another objection. But what if I love my house? Isn't that worth something? Absolutely, it's worth something. The question is, what price you're willing to pay for that something. If you love your house and you're willing to pay $2.5 million in retirement wealth to have that love, that's a legitimate choice to make consciously. But most people don't make it consciously. They make it unconsciously, then discover the cost later. The person who loves their maximum house and consciously accepts the $2.5 million cost has made a different decision than the person who never realized there was a cost. Consciousness changes everything. Here's the final thing to understand about the maximum house decision. It's not actually about the house. It's about the fundamental question of how you convert income into life. Do you convert income into consumption, maximum house, maximum lifestyle, maximum everything? Or do you convert income into options, modest house, modest lifestyle, maximum investments? These two approaches create completely different lives by age 65. The first approach creates an impressive life for 18 months, then a normal life that requires working 10 plus extra years. The retirement, when it finally arrives, is modest. The second approach creates a modest life for 30 years, then a free life starting at 60 where you can do anything. The retirement arrives early and is abundant. Most people choose the first path because it feels good in the moment. The path is well lit. Everyone is walking it. It's normal. The second path feels restrictive in the moment. You're saying no to upgrades everyone else is getting. You're driving an adequate car instead of an impressive one. You're living in an adequate house instead of an impressive one. The path feels dark and lonely, but 30 years later, the difference is staggering. The person on the first path is working part-time at 70. The person on the second path retired at 55 and has been traveling freely for 15 years. The maximum house decision is the moment when you choose your path. You won't realize you're choosing it. It will feel like you're just making a normal real estate decision. but you're actually choosing whether your life will be impressive at 40 and constrained at 65, or modest at 40 and free at 65. Most people, when they understand the real cost, would choose freedom at 65. But they make the decision without understanding the cost. By the time they understand it, the decision is made. The house is bought. The payments are locked in. The wealth is foregone. This is why I'm showing you the cost explicitly, so you don't make this decision unconsciously. The maximum house is the $1 million decision that nearly everyone makes without realizing it. But it doesn't have to be your decision. You can ask a different question. What house do I need? Instead of, what house can I afford? That one changed question, applied when you're buying your house, determines whether you're wealthy or constrained for the next 30 years. The question is available to you right now. Whether you ask it is entirely up to you.